Hello, this is Darice. Welcome back to Moonlifeastro. And if you're new, welcome to my channel. We talk about astrology, transits of the moon, and how you can apply it to planning and productivity in regards to building or growing your business or even starting a business. I like to talk to creative visionaries, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and hopefully this resonates with you. If you do like my channel, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. That does help me get the message out. Today, we're going to be talking about this upcoming Mercury retrograde. And I am recording this video ahead of time, so I'm not referring to anything that's happening on the world stage because I don't know what's happening at this time. But anyway, I just want to get into this Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades happen 3 or 4 times a year. I know there's a lot of angst around Mercury retrogrades. A lot of people fear them. Mercury does rule communication, so it can slow things down, especially during summer. A lot of people, at least in the northern hemisphere, are enjoying summer vacation. They're taking time off. So when Mercury does go retrograde, it can put a snafu in your travel plan. So it is always good to double and triple check your travel plans if you are going somewhere. And if you do have a delay, I like to think of it as a divine delay, that you're put where you need to be at the right time, or maybe you need to have a delay so that you can meet someone in particular. Sometimes that happens during a Mercury retrograde. One of the things I love about Mercury retrogrades is that it's often a good time to reconnect with people that I have not had time to hang out with recently. Friends or family tend to have more time to get together. Often, people I haven't spoken to in weeks or even months will pop back up. Sometimes we'll randomly run into one another. That can typically happen during a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades are all about the REs. So reviewing, revisiting, renegotiating. So maybe you have a contract that didn't come together earlier this year. Sometimes it could be a good time to go back to that contract during the retrograde. I usually recommend not actually signing it until Mercury has actually gone direct, because typically when you are negotiating during a Mercury retrograde, usually a key piece of information is missing either for you or the other person involved. But it can be a good time to review contracts, things that you may want to renegotiate at the end of the Mercury retrograde, or at least during the second half of it, which some astrologers think of as the action phase of a Mercury retrograde. If you do have to take action during an actual Mercury retrograde, if you can't wait till it ends, usually about halfway through that second half, it's usually a little bit safer, quote unquote, to do it then. I always remind people during Mercury retrograde to be mindful, because it can, like I said, affect travel, but even local travel. Stoplights might go out, may not be working correctly. That type of thing can happen during a Mercury retrograde. So when you're driving, it's best, I mean, anytime, it's always good to be focused on just the driving, not texting and driving, like I know a lot of people like to do. I think it's especially important to not do that sort of thing during a Mercury retrograde. Really be focused. If you are going through a crowded parking lot or you're crossing the street, to not be doing that while you're on your phone, to actually just be paying attention to your surroundings as you're crossing the street, as you're walking through a crowded parking lot. I took a first aid class years ago, and one of the things I remembered is that often a lot of accidents actually happen in parking lots, because people are just not paying attention. They're checked out. So just be mindful, just be extra careful. But like I said, Mercury retrogrades are not all bad. A lot of times they highlight for you what needs to be corrected. It will come to the surface, maybe what's not working in a particular work relationship or even a personal relationship. Communication issues can come to a head so that they have to get resolved, that type of thing. So, if that happens for you, just be graceful, show yourself grace, show the parties that you're involved with grace, be patient. If you do have electronics breakdown during this time, it's because they need to get fixed, they need to be replaced. That will also happen sometimes during a Mercury retrograde. So this is why during the lead up to it, I usually recommend people, replace their electronics then, if they know it's something they need to do pretty soon. So if you're seeing this ahead of time, you still have a couple of days. Doesn't actually turn retrograde until July 18th. Uh, but this one is going to be particular. It's going to be in Leo. And so it's going to be retrograde from July 18th until August 11th. And now with it being in Leo and then backtracking into Cancer, I think that's kind of interesting in and of itself, just because we had Mars in Cancer earlier this year for pretty much the first half of the year. So the Cancer part of your chart is being really worked on this year. I think it's also interesting that this Mercury retrograde is happening against both the backdrop of Jupiter recently entering Cancer and then now Uranus entering Gemini. So I'm going to get into that as we go through this. But with Mercury in Leo, retrograding through Leo, this is going to be giving us the opportunity to look at our creative voice. And then when it goes back into Cancer for a little bit, it's an opportunity to do more healing around the inner child, more of the shadow work around that. Some of the other themes that may emerge during this particular Mercury retrograde can be visibility versus vulnerability. You may want to sit with that during these next 3 weeks. What is the visibility in your business as you live your purpose, your vision? What feels vulnerable about that? And what needs to be resolved in that area? Or what would you like to look at? What would you like to evolve or transform? This is about creating the space to speak from your soul versus proving something. Um, Again, this is another invitation from the universe, the astrological energy, to look at, are you leading from your heart or the ego? And like I said, this Mercury retrograde is going to be happening against the backdrop of Jupiter in Cancer. So this can encourage some soul nurturing expansion. Jupiter is going to expand wherever it goes. So in this case, it will magnify, or has the potential at least to magnify, our emotional intelligence, any ancestral patterns, and inner safety, and any issues that need to be resolved in those areas. So this is an opportunity, I think, during this retrograde, is to look at more of the shadow work around some of the family stuff that we've inherited. What would we like to resolve? What do we want to take to the next level in terms of our healing? And then how is that impacting how you show up for yourself, for your business, your purpose, your vision? This is about building from the inside out. From a business perspective, this could also be a great time to nurture your clients, your client relationships, work on your branding. And also, if you have a team, where do you want to, are there weaknesses in how the team dynamics are flowing? What needs to be addressed or resolved in that area? The Mercury retrograde could bring that to the surface. This is also a great time, this retrograde, to review content or offers that no longer feel emotionally aligned or supportive. And again, Uranus recently entered Gemini. So this is going to be causing us to rethink everything, how we do everything, this 7-year transit. It will shake up how we communicate, how we think, how we teach, and how we network. And we're going to be talking about this throughout the year and, of course, over the next 7 years. But during Mercury retrograde in particular, there may be some downloads or insights. You may have sudden clarity about your communication practices, your communication styles, or even your modes of communication. And this could also be a great time at some point during this Mercury retrograde. Look at a digital detox window. Are there times in your schedule during the month where you completely shut it down? I have 1 or 2 days a month where I completely go offline, have the phone completely off, no social media, no YouTube, no Instagram, none of it. And sometimes I can even get away completely from screens and not watch anything, streaming, like just read an actual old fashioned book, or maybe just draw in a sketchbook or write in a journal. And I haven't done one of those days in a while. Now that I'm talking about it out loud, I should probably commit to doing that in the next couple of weeks for myself, because it's been about a month when I've done a complete digital detox. And it's a really great way to cleanse myself energetically and help my nervous system calm down and repair itself. So something to consider. The other aspect of this Mercury retrograde is that we have Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And so this is an opportunity for discipline to meet the dream. Saturn, it's boundaries and structure. Neptune is our vision, our imagination, and our dreams. And in Aries, there can be both this push that you feel to lead your vision with courage and soul, but we also need some reality checks around that. And so the Mercury retrograde could highlight where we've been a little delusional, where things need to be more grounded in practicality. So if that comes up for you, just again, pause, address it, take it step by step, do what needs to be done. This could also be a good opportunity to simply ask yourself, what systems are outdated for the version of me I am becoming? And to ask yourself, am I building a business that matches my intuitive leadership style? Productivity and planning in a Mercury retrograde world. This is not the time to force a launch or any decisions. Ideally, it's a great time to pause, slow down, review, reflect, realign. In terms of productivity tips, you can revisit old ideas or half finished projects. That's something I'm definitely going to be doing during this Mercury retrograde. And again, double check the details, double check emails, text messages before you send them, both personally and professionally, especially when you're traveling. Double, triple check your travel plans. And this could be also another opportunity to play with intuitive time blocking. You know, at some point in your day or at the beginning of the day, simply check in, ask yourself, what do I feel drawn to complete today? Here are some reflection prompts, and you can pause or replay these, and I'll put these in the description box below as well. So, reflection prompts. What needs to be rewritten in how I think, speak, or lead? What part of my business feels out of sync with who I am today? Where can I show up more authentically, even if it means shifting the script? A potential ritual for yourself as well. You could handwrite a love letter to your future self on August 11th when the Mercury retrograde completes. And again, just some reminders about navigating this time. This is really just another opportunity to pause or slow down to really hear the call of our soul. Another opportunity to embrace rest as a strategy, allowing that space for the divine downloads. And again, any detours or delays, see them as divine direction. That's basically it in a nutshell. Like I said, again, Mercury retrogrades can be a great opportunity for revising how we communicate with ourselves and with others. Excellent opportunity to review old contracts, renegotiate, revisit old ideas, go back to other offers, revisit previous branding, revise your systems, your modes of operating. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity to do that. And if you listen to one of my earlier videos over the last couple of weeks, issues or things that got highlighted during the last couple of weeks, they may come to the surface during a Mercury retrograde for another review. So, just a heads up that may happen, both personally and professionally. And again, all of this, I always feel like the universe, the energy is always encouraging us to be better versions of ourselves and is supporting us in becoming a better version of ourselves. And these opportunities, these nudges to do some of the shadow work is so that we can be stronger and healthier for some of the more challenging astrological aspects that may be coming up in the next few months or that will be coming up in the next few months as we go through the year. So even though this is a Mercury retrograde, July, August is actually kind of a softer time of year in some respects, at least energetically, astrologically speaking. The fall might be a little dicier. So this is a really good time to just kind of clear the deck, tie up loose ends, get things shored up, strengthen the foundations where you can in different areas of your life so that these upcoming transitions will be easier and smoother to navigate and to flow through. And again, sending you lots of love, joy, peace, and prosperity, wishing you well. Peacefully yours, dear Reese.